I tried to defend myself by bringing up my hands and arms to block her attacks, but she just kept coming at me until I punched her in the stomach. She was much smaller, and the blow from my fist made her double over in pain. Before I knew what had happened, she ran and told my father that I had attacked her without a reason, and when I tried to plead my case and say that she attacked me first. My father wouldn't believe me. Instead, he just demanded that I leave right away. Hi there, my name is Michael, and I've been placed in a really uncomfortable and terrible situation. It all started when I was 12. My parents were wonderful together. I honestly looked up to them as what a loving and caring couple should be, and I had hoped that someday that I would also be able to find someone that made me feel as special as they made each other feel. Both of them were incredibly romantic and did their best to make the other one feel loved and needed. So when my mother became ill with an incurable disease, my father and I were devastated. She went from being healthy to being on her deathbed within weeks, and there was nothing that we could do about it. The day that she died, my father and I spent a solid 24 hours crying. We only stopped because we passed out from exhaustion. After the funeral, my father and I tried our best to get back into a normal routine, but it was so hard not having my mom around. Things just felt like they were missing something vitally important. The years passed and my father and I healed, although we never truly forgot her. I had honestly thought that my father would have stayed single for the rest of his life, but I would have thought wrong. Not long after my 18th birthday, my father brought home a woman that was nearly half his age. My father had had me when he was only 22, and this woman that he brought home was 24. He introduced her to me as his girlfriend, and that her name was Carrie. It felt awkward that my father was dating someone that was barely older than me, but I didn't really see where it was my place to complain. So long as he was happy, then I would just have to stomach it. Besides, I had thought that Carrie would get tired of dating someone so much older, but I had suspected wrong. Months went by, and they were still dating, and what was worse, my father had invited her to move into our house. The day that she did, she began redecorating the house, and even started removing photos from the walls and furniture, including ones of my mom. Hey, you can't just take those photos down.
Hey, this is my house now too, and I don't want to see photos of your dead mother. I don't need reminders that I wasn't his first wife. After all, I have you here to remind me of that.
How dare you? There is no way that my father will stand for this. Sadly though, Carrie talked to my father first, and had spun the story that I was being rude, and that I hated that she was moving in. Sadly, my father believed her, and he asked me to try to be more nice to Carrie since she would now be living with us, and if we wanted a happy home, then we needed to get along. When I tried to bring up the fact that she had taken down the photos of my mother, my father got rather absent-minded and just said that maybe it was time that we did take them down. After all, she would have wanted us to move on with our lives, and no matter whether we had photos of her on the walls or not, we would never forget her. I wanted to believe what he was saying, but it sounded like a very lame excuse. Again, I just wanted him to be happy, plus I was planning to go away to college within a year, and so I resigned myself to just putting up with Carrie for what I thought would be a short amount of time. But then things began to escalate. For starters, Carrie and my father got married, and not long after that, she began to boss me around.
Hey, brat, I need you to wash my car.
What car? You don't own one.
Ha, joke's on you. I got your father to buy me one and I got it dirty, so go clean it.
No. Why would I do that? I'm not your servant.
You'll do it or I'll kick your ass.
She then attacked me and began to punch me in the face and stomach. I tried to defend myself by bringing up my hands and arms to block her attacks, but she just kept coming at me until I punched her in the stomach. She was much smaller, and the blow from my fist made her double over in pain. Before I knew what had happened, she ran and told my father that I had attacked her without a reason, and when I tried to plead my case and say that she attacked me first, my father wouldn't believe me. Instead, he just demanded that I leave right away. Even though I knew that I was in the right and that I hadn't done anything wrong, I couldn't persuade him to see the truth. Instead, I had to pack up my things and just leave. It was less than ideal, but it was either that or my father insisted that he would call the police, and that was something that I really didn't want to get involved with. And so I left and used what little money I had saved up working part-time to find myself a place to live. Unfortunately, it was a very small apartment in a very bad neighborhood, but it was all I could afford. It took some time, and I had to take out loans, but I did manage to still go to college. And after 4 years of studying extremely hard and working 3 part-time jobs at the same time, I graduated and was able to find an entry-level job at a prestigious law firm. It didn't pay much better than my part-time jobs, but it was a start, and I was grateful for it. A couple years passed, and I moved up in the firm and started making some pretty good money. So much so that I was able to buy myself a modest house in a much nicer neighborhood, and was even able to get myself a car too. And another few years passed, and I once again moved up in the company and was able to buy myself a really large house along with a luxury car. I was rather proud of myself, and unfortunately the only thing that could make it better was to know that my father was proud at how far I had come. But it had been many years since we had spoken, and I wasn't sure if he was still upset with me or not. One day, though, I heard a knock on my front door and went to answer it, and was beyond surprised to see Carrie of all people standing there.
Hi, Michael. I know that it's been a long time. Can I come in?
I honestly didn't really want to let her in, of course, but I was hopeful that maybe she had grown over the years, and that maybe she had come to apologize for driving a wedge between my father and I. Okay, I suppose.
So I heard that you had done quite well for yourself, and by the looks of it, you really have.
Yeah, it's taken a long time, but I'm doing well.
That's good. Sorry to ask, but can I use your washroom?
Annoyed, I showed her to my washroom, which was connected to my bedroom. As I showed her the way, she kept admiring my large house and all the things that I had amassed over the years. Once she was in the bathroom, I left her to go back to the living room to wait for her. 20 minutes passed when I finally got impatient and went to check on what was taking so long, and as I entered my bedroom, I found her naked on my bed. What the hell are you doing?
Oh, come on. I know that you've had a thing for me for years, and I'll be honest. Your father isn't really doing it for me anymore, so when I heard that you had become rich, I thought that I would come and pay you a visit. I can do all the things that used to make your father happy.
I was disgusted, and without thinking, I started recording our conversation using my cell phone that was hidden in my pocket. So you would leave my father for me? Just like that?
Well, of course I would. He's old and frail, and you're young and full of life. I'd much rather have a man like you.
Is that so? But why? Isn't my father doing okay for himself?
Well, he doesn't make the kind of money that you do, so I would much rather be with you.
With a big smile on my face, I pulled out my phone and showed her that I had been recording our conversation the entire time. The look of fear that spread across her face once she realized what I had been doing was priceless. Before she could say another word, I sent a copy of the recording to my father. In a flash, she ran past me and out of my house, and hadn't even bothered to get dressed. That night, I slept like a log, knowing that I had finally gotten a little bit of revenge against Carrie, and in the morning, I was greeted by a reply message from my father that read, "Can we talk?" My heart skipped a beat, and I wanted to think that maybe this meant something good, but after what had happened with Carrie the night before, I wasn't so sure that I should get my hopes up. I replied that I would be on my way over. When I arrived, my father met me at the front door and hugged me for a full 10 minutes. Neither of us spoke, and just enjoyed the hug after being apart for so many years. It felt incredible, but only half as good as what my father said next.
Oh, Michael, I was such a fool for believing Carrie. Can you ever find it in your heart to forgive me?
It's going to be hard, but I think with time that I can, yes.
That's more than I deserve, and I understand. I'm really proud at the man that you've become in spite of not having any help from an old fool like me.
Thanks, Dad. You taught me well, and I used the lessons from you to succeed. You know this is all well and good, but what about when Carrie comes home? The second I mentioned her name, my father began laughing hysterically. As it turned out, she had ran out straight to her car and had driven out of my driveway so fast that she hadn't paid attention to traffic and had backed out and into a cop car and then drove off in a panic. The cop pursued her for over 10 minutes until she finally noticed him and pulled over. After the cop looked in the window and saw that she was naked, he arrested her on the spot and she spent the night in jail. Once he had told me the whole story, I asked him how he had found out all of this, and he told me that Carrie had told him. She had used her one phone call to call him and told him everything. So does that mean that you bailed her out?
Of course not. I had suspected that she had been cheating on me for years. but I could never prove it. A part of our prenuptial agreement stated that if either of us cheated, that the other would get nothing in the divorce settlement. And since you sent me proof, well, I can finally divorce her without the fear of her taking all my money in alimony.
And he was right. A few months later, my father successfully divorced Carrie, and the judge honored the prenuptial agreement, and Carrie got nothing. My father got the house, the car, and was able to keep his retirement savings as well, which left Carrie Penny less and homeless. In the months and years that followed, my father and I started spending a lot more time together in an attempt to make up for lost time. And I'm happy to say that we are once again very close and talk to each other almost every day. As for Carrie, well, she ended up going to prison for a few years for her little joyride where she evaded the police. After she got out, she really didn't have any good prospects, and as far as I know, she ended up living on the streets. I did feel bad for her, but only just a little. After all, she had stolen the most precious thing in the world from me: time with my father.